All right, everybody, welcome back to G Funky Boxing. I am G Funky Boxing, HCP, that is Hispanics Causing Panic. Here to break down this great fight we got coming up this weekend between Earl Spence and Danny Garcia for the IBF and the WBC World Welterweight titles. Really good fight. Very much looking forward to this one, man. Should be a good fight. Let's start off with the champion. Let's go over his record 26-0 with 21 knockouts for Earl Spence against the challenger Danny Garcia 36-2 and 21. Both got good records. Both have done some good things in the sport. So let's sit down and talk about this thing, man, real quickly here, all right? Now, I want to get this out the way before I really get into the breakdown of this thing, but I understand that Spence was in a car crash, okay? I'm breaking this thing down as if that never happened. Okay, I just want to put that out there because I don't want to take away anything from Danny Garcia if he happens to win this fight. Okay, I don't want there to be an excuse for well, he was in a crash and that changed him, whatever. Look, Spence is saying he's okay. He looks in phenomenal shape. He looks like he's ready to go. He says he's okay. So there's no reason for me to believe that he's not okay. So I'm going to say that right now. I am not breaking down this fight with that in mind. With that said, let's get into it. All right. So the first thing I want to talk about is, I'm gonna break down both guys on the offense and on defense. I'm gonna start with defense with Earl Spence. Now, here's what I'm gonna say. To me, Spence's defense is just not all that. Okay, it's not all that. Now, is that a bad thing? No, it's not a bad thing, and I'm gonna tell you why. In my opinion, Spence, he can be hit because, he really does commit to his punches. Okay. He's very aggressive and, he wants to come forward. He wants to sit down on his punches. So that leaves guys with opportunities to counter him. We've seen him countered by, lesser opponents than a Danny Garcia. Guys like Peterson, and a few other guys, Chris Algieri, guys like that he was fighting before he stepped up in class. They were able to catch Spence with clean flush shots, and it's simply because he likes to come forward. He's a very aggressive guy. He comes forward and commits to his shots to the head and to the body. Has a really good jab, but sometimes and I've talked about Spence's jab a lot. But sometimes he'll come in and he'll shoot that jab. Well, actually, he's a southpaw. Let me switch that over. He'll shoot that jab, and then he'll leave his head right on the line. He'll kind of fall in sometimes as well, and that leaves his opponent a lot of opportunities to counter him. But that's the thing that's the good thing about Spence. That's what makes Spence an exciting fighter is the fact that he's not afraid to get hit. That's not a bad thing, guys. This is boxing. You're going to get hit. That's just the way it is. And that's what I think is going to make an exciting fight here with Danny Garcia. Okay. His head movement, again, it could be better. I seen him do some flashes of that against Sean Porter in his last fight. Um, but the thing is Spence has got heart. He's got a lot of heart, and he's shown a good chin. He's shown a toughness. And again, that's what makes him really an entertaining fighter is the fact that he's willing to stick his nose in there and take some shots in order to deliver his own. That's what makes him a really good fighter and a very entertaining fighter. As for his offense, again, he's a southpaw, so that's always something you got to keep in mind when a southpaw is fighting an orthodox fighter. You got to talk about that. Um, Spence, again, the jab, great jab. I really like his jab. It comes out nice and sharp, nice and straight and powerful from the southpaw position. He doesn't telegraph it, which is good. That's what I seen that against Mikey Garcia, a guy who's smaller, quicker. He was able to land that jab at will on the Mikey Garcia, and it's because he takes these really small steps when he comes forward to shoot that jab, and when he sticks it out there, it lands pretty hard, man. But I notice what he does is he'll come more with the back foot than anything. It's very crafty the way that he does it. I really like that, man. He won't step forward with the front foot like you see most guys when they shoot that hard shotgun jab. He'll already kind of get there and then boom, it's really good the way he does it. I really like it. He's a very good combination puncher. He throws shots to the head, to the body, and I like how he finishes to the body. I love that. He'll come in, he'll throw his right jab and he'll hook, and then he'll go to the body with shots. Beautiful combination puncher. I really love that. He did that very well against a guy like Sean Porter. You know, and he counterpunched Sean Porter a lot in that fight as well, which is something a little bit different that we haven't seen from Spence. Like I said, normally he's the aggressive guy. Like when he fought against Akel Brook, he was very aggressive, came forward. He had to take some shots to get in there, but he eventually got in there and stopped Kell Brook, or at least broke his eye, his orbital bone, so that he had to you know throw in the towel. Basically, he said, "I had enough." But he did have to walk through some shots. But one thing I noticed with Sean Porter is that when Porter would lunge in with some of his shots, like as Porter's a guy who likes to get low sometimes and he'll shoot from way far away. And it's a good punch when he lands it, but I noticed Spence picked up on it pretty well midway through the fight, and he was able to back up and then shoot his left hand while Porter was leaning in. Very good counter. I like that. But another thing with Spence that got him in trouble in that fight is that he's very lineal. He comes straight in and straight out a lot of the times, and his defense is moving back a lot of the times um, from his opponent's attack. And the reason why I bring that up is because that's something that I think is going to be key in this fight. It's going to be key, and I'm going to explain it to you. Okay. Um, but yeah, Spence very good on the offense. I really like what I see from him. Uh, good power. And I like what I see from the kid, man. I really like Earl Spence. As for Danny Garcia, I'm gonna start off with him on his offense now. Offensively, people say he's flat-footed, right? Am I gonna disagree with that? No, I'm not. I'm not gonna disagree with that. I do think that he is flat-footed. Is that a bad thing, though? Is that necessarily a bad thing? I'm gonna say no, it's not. It's worked for Danny Garcia to this point, and just because somebody is flat-footed doesn't mean that they don't have good footwork. Danny Garcia, yes, he is flat-footed, but he also has very good balance. Very and balance is key in boxing. If you can stay balanced, one foot in front of the other, and keep your feet planted the way that he does, guess what? Your legs are always going to be underneath you, and you're going to be in position to throw punches at all times, which is good footwork, guys. I'm telling you, that's really good footwork. And he's a counter puncher, so you know he likes to stand right there, and that's one thing I noticed with him. Because he doesn't move, he'll stand there, and he likes to roll with shots, lean back, sometimes go underneath, and things like that, and then try to come up with shots of his own. He's got a very unique way of throwing hooks. We all know the no look left hook, where kind of you know what I'm saying. But it works for him, man. It really does work for him. But one thing about Danny Garcia that makes him more dangerous than I think anybody that Spence has been in there against, and that is timing. The man has great timing on his left hook more than anything, and he's got good power. His jab is uh, it's okay to me. I'm not a really big fan of Danny Garcia's jab. Like I said, he likes to counter you with hooks and uppercuts. He does throw good uppercuts to the body. I noticed that too when he gets inside with guys. He does throw a lot of good uppercuts on guys. Um, but that timing, and I do like the shortness of his shots. He doesn't really come wide with a lot of shots. Sometimes that no look hook comes a little bit wide, but for the most part, he's very, very sharp with his hooks and his uppercuts. It's a very good thing there. I really like when guys are short with their punches. Um, those are hard. Those are the hard punches to see when they're that short. You don't see them coming, especially when you're mid range or inside. Um, on defense, he's just okay to me as well. Both guys are just kind of okay to me on defense. Like I said, he likes to roll the shots, move his head and his body up and down, um, which is again has worked out for him, and he has shown a very, very good chin up to this point in his career. Um, I have no reason to believe that he can't take Spence's power. Um, One thing about both of these guys I can say is that once they've both stepped up in competition, um, you've seen those knockouts weren't coming as much. Now, I would say more with Danny Garcia because Garcia came from 140. Now, all of his big wins came at 140. All of them. hasn't really had a big time win at 147. Although people might say that he won against Thurman or Sean Porter, and you can make a case in those fights. But again, at the end of the day, he lost those fights. So again, all these big wins have come at 140. Hasn't really been knocking guys out the way he was at 140 or hurting them or busting them up the way that he was. At least the top competition, like when he stepped up against an Amir Khan, right? Like he was a big underdog in that fight, knocks him out. Lucas Matisse, he was an underdog in that fight. He dropped Matisse, busted his eye out pretty good, and took a lot of hard shots from Matisse. There was a point in that fight where Matisse hit him with a big, strong right hand, knocked his mouthpiece right out of his mouth, and he just took it like it was nothing. So Garcia has shown a solid chin, but again, most of his good wins have come from the 140-pound division. This will be the biggest win by far on his record at 147 if he gets the job done here. So here's what I think, man. Looking at both guys and looking at the styles, here's my winner for the fight. You guys ready? Drum rolled. Earl Spence. I'm taking Earl Spence by unanimous decision. I don't think Danny can. The thing is this, I want to say this. The guy who gave him his toughest fight, um, and a lot of people think that he won against Spence, was Sean Porter. I don't think Danny can push Spence back the way that Porter did and keep him off balance, keep him off the back foot, take some power out of those shots by making him go back and throw at the same time. You don't generate as much power when you're moving back and punching as you do standing there and throwing shots, or if you're coming forward, you got a guy against the ropes. Um, Porter was able to do that with Spence. Danny Garcia is not that kind of guy. He doesn't come forward. He's not that aggressive like a Sean Porter. Um, Spence is very, like I said, he's very lineal, and he could give Danny some opportunities by just backing straight up. You know, um, we'll see if he's able to fix that. He did pivot every now and then against Sean Porter. In a lot of those exchanges. But for the most part, again, he just back straight up. Like you've seen a lot of times where the feet would get messed up and he's falling off balance sometimes. He was able to get pushed against the ropes. Porter was able to spin around a lot and switch positions, on Earl Spence. Like those are things that Danny Garcia doesn't do. Um, but I do think that he can catch Spence with big shots. I do, because again, Spence is a guy that commits to his punches, and he's a combination puncher. So when you throw combinations and you're willing to stand there and throw those shots, you're leaving opportunities for your opponent. And a guy with great timing like a Danny Garcia can definitely catch him with something here. I just don't know if the power is there at 147 for Danny Garcia. Again, he's been able to knock out guys like Granados and Guerrero, Rios. You know those are the guys you're supposed to knock out. Like Rios was done at that point. You can say the same thing about Guerrero, Granados. I know a lot of people say, "Well, no one ever knocked him out like that." I mean, he's been in a lot of tough fights, man. So it was about time that he got knocked out by somebody. So I don't think it's going to be. I think if he hurts him, it's going to be because he catches him with something that he doesn't see. Um, but as of now, I have to say both guys have both shown very good chins. So I don't see anybody getting knocked out in this fight. Um, so I am taking Earl Spence by unanimous decision. But again, I'm telling you right now, I am not using the car crash as an excuse here. I broke down this fight and I gave you everything that I see and what I think could happen based off of Earl Spence not being in a car crash. Okay, because I'm not going to come back here and say, well, he only lost because he was in a car crash and he wasn't the same. He's not saying that, so I'm not going to say that. Okay, that's just the kind of guy I am here on G Funky Boxing. All right, that's just the way that I am. I don't make excuses when I'm wrong. Okay, so that's it, guys. That's all I got for this one. You guys want to leave a comment down below? Make sure you do that. Make sure that you jab the like button. Make sure you throw the cross at the notification bell. And if you haven't subscribed, don't throw uppercut to that subscribe button, man. So you can subscribe. You get the notification when you know that I'm live. I do a lot of I call a lot of fights here. I do predictions like I'm doing right here. And I also have a show Uncensored where I'm live and you guys can come on and chop it up with me if you choose to. So I'm gonna end it here, guys. Thanks for watching. This is G Funky Boxing. I'm out. HCP, home of the boxing, home of the real boxing talk. I'm out.